Alright, so what we did is we imported dummy models of the iPhone 14 series for you guys. We have the iPhone 14, the new iPhone 14 Max, the iPhone 14 Pro, which is unfortunately broken in transit, so I'll keep that aside, and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is talking about the dimensions of these phones, and of course the dummy models have already come in really soon, primarily because these are sent out to case makers so that they can make their molds for the cases as well, which is possibly the reason why we see the most number of accessories for iPhones. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing is talking about the design, some rumored specifications of the phone, and taking you through what we can expect from the iPhone 14 series. Now, if you don't know me yet, I'm Ashad. You're watching Track It Tech English. Let's go. Starting off, let's talk about the new base iPhone 14 and of course the swanky new expected iPhone 14 Max. But before that, let's maintain 2 minutes of silence for the Mini. And you know what? Rumors are strongly suggesting the iPhone 14 mini won't exist. And I'm really sad about it. In fact, even recently, one of my friends from the industry actually picked up the iPhone 13 mini because of that form factor. But unfortunately, there don't seem to be many takers for it. Unlike the iPhone SE 2022, which has been selling really well according to the Counterpoint data that was launched recently. So no iPhone 14 mini. I'm so sad for it. All right. Now, the iPhone 14 and the 14 Max look almost identical to the iPhone 13. You know, you've got this camera module with these two cameras, the main wide and the ultra wide, placed in a diagonal fashion. And apart from that, doesn't look like the camera module is bigger, unlike the iPhone 14 Pro. But I mean, you can expect some camera improvements on the iPhone 14 and the 14 Max. Now, apart from that, you will also have this matte aluminum frame, which will continue with the iPhone 14, and the 14 Max, which was there on the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 12 as well. And on the front, there will still be that bucket notch. Unfortunately, you can't see that on this dummy model, but that's gonna exist for sure. So with respect to the design of the iPhone 14 and the 14 Max, it's not gonna be too different. But yeah, the 14 Max is going to be very similar in size to the 14 Pro Max. I'm presuming the 14 Max will be lighter than the 14 Pro Max, but rumors are suggesting that the 14 Max actually has a larger battery compared to the 14 Pro Max, which definitely is very interesting. Now, unlike this broken iPhone 14 Pro Max out here, don't break my heart. Hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever we put out an awesome new tech video. Now, you know what? The first thing I thought of when I looked at the iPhone 14 Max is that they could have added a third telephoto camera. It would have made a whole world of difference. But then, of course, there is no distinction then between the iPhone 14 and 14 Max. So that would have been one of the reasons why they didn't add it. They wanted to keep, the lineup very similar with just two cameras. You know what? The iPhone 14 Max actually reminds me of the very first time the iPhone 6 Plus was launched. So yeah, so this is going to be like the bigger base version of the iPhone that a lot of people will be craving for. Now, one of the things I really don't know, and of course there are no rumors around it as well, is if the iPhone 14 Max and the 14 will have brighter displays compared to the Pro, but of course Pro is generally what gets it. And we are almost certain that there won't be promotion on the iPhone 14 and the 14 Max this year. Now, there's one thing that a lot of people must be wondering is if these phones come with a Type-C port at the bottom. I'm pretty certain that's not happening anytime soon. Of course, EU's ruling is already out that all phones should have a Type-C port, but unfortunately it's going to be Lightning only, and we cannot tell from whatever is there in this dummy model. For now, it looks like Lightning only, so yeah, so we'll have to wait and watch. Now, the only one rumor that has sort of been polarizing on the iPhone 14 and 14 Max is the fact that it might not come with the latest A16 Bionic and might just continue with the A15 Bionic that was already there on the iPhone 13 series, and that's based on TSMC's 5nm fabrication process. Now, if you ask me, it sort of makes sense. Maybe that's how Apple can produce that many quantities of iPhones. And in any case, the A15 Bionic is a very powerful chip, and year on year the upgrades are not making that much of a difference in performance as well. And I don't think that game developers have also themselves pushed the processor to those limits just yet. I think A15 Bionic should be just fine, but what I'm more concerned about is, feels like except for the iPhone 14 Max's new big form factor and a new big size, there aren't many upgrades to look forward to on the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Max, especially with the cameras. There's not much to talk about just yet. I hope that Apple can pull a cat at the back. Otherwise, this feels like an iPhone 13s more than anything else. So I'll just keep that for the side right now and get to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, when you're talking about the iPhone 14 Pro Max, I'm not bringing the iPhone 14 Pro into the equation because there are only two things that will be different. That is the display and the battery life. Of course, the iPhone 14 Pro will have a smaller display and will have smaller footprint for a smaller battery as well, and therefore the battery life will also be not as good as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. That's about the only difference between the two. So most of the other rumored specs and the way the design looks, all of that will be very similar. So I'm keeping to that. And you know the reason why I'm not talking about the iPhone 14 Pro, right? It's broken. Now, this comparison is very interesting, and this is a phone that probably will be more exciting this year compared to the base iPhone 14 series. And that is the fact that the iPhone 14 Pro Max, for the very first time, the iPhone 14 Pro series will come with a 48 megapixel primary camera, which will of course be 12 megapixel pixel bin samples with better low light photography. Low light photography on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is also very good, but imagine it getting even better. And the one thing that Apple had to do was actually do better quality pixels and higher quality pixels, and that will finally probably happen with the iPhone 14 Pro series if all the rumors are true. Now, as for the design, what I can see, I have the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max right next to each other. What I can see is that the 14 Pro Max's camera module is even bigger right now, which is why of course you need a new dummy for them to make new cases for the phone. So yeah, I think it'll also be heavier, but apparently there's one interesting rumor going around that the iPhone 14 Pro Max's battery size is apparently going to be smaller than the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which could indicate that the A16 Bionic chip inside the iPhone 14 Pro Max could be very power efficient. It'll be very exciting to see how the A16 performs, although year on year we've seen that the performance differences are kind of negligible and you don't really see that in daily usage either. Now, apart from the size of the camera module, I have to talk about the mid-frame on the new iPhone 14 Pro Max. Rumors are suggesting that it will actually come with a titanium mid-frame instead of a stainless steel one. This is not a titanium mid-frame, of course, this is just a dummy. Now, the reason for using titanium instead of stainless steel, the advantages are aplenty. Firstly, it is less prone to scratches. Of course, I've been using my iPhone 13 Pro Max with a case, so that doesn't really matter. But then again, if it's less prone to scratches, then that's better. And of course, titanium also improves the network signal connectivity as well, apparently. So that's going to be a huge thing, and better for thermals as well. So if it's going to run cooler when you're doing resource-intensive tasks, then titanium sort of helps compared to the stainless steel material used on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But wait for it, the most exciting change in the iPhone 14 Pro series that a lot of people are waiting for is the fact that the notch on the front is going to be replaced by a pill-shaped cutout and a punch hole. Punch hole for the camera and pill-shaped cutout for all the Face ID sensors that are required, like the dot projector, the ambient light sensor, and all of those things. Unfortunately, it's not very clear. They've just done like a very shabby cutout sort of thing on this front panel of this dummy model. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of the most exciting changes on the iPhone 14 Pro series. Yeah, I mean, Android phones have had punch holes for the longest time. iPhone users being like, this is going to be the most exciting change. Does sound kind of funny, but it's true. It's something to look forward to. And of course, the 120 Hertz refresh rate with ProMotion is possibly one of the best implementations of 120 Hertz refresh rate on a phone. That's going to continue with the Pro series as well. Now, one of the differences in the way the ProMotion has been tuned on the iPhone 14 Pro and the Pro Max, the rumors are suggesting that it can go as low as 1 Hertz. What that means is, of course, better power efficiency, and more importantly, that could indicate that there might just be an always-on display on the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max, which of course, again, has existed always on Android phones. Now, there's also a reason why people are suggesting that there might be an always on display on the iPhone 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max is because the way the widget on the lock screen has been designed actually looks like there could be a possibility of that as well. So we'll have to wait and watch if that actually happens. Now, talking about the cameras again on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, the primary 48 megapixel camera will apparently enable 8K recording capabilities as well. I mean, it's of course an overkill, but it will be available for whoever wants wants to do it. I still don't know if everybody is actually using the ProRes mode right now, because again, that takes so much space. Now, considering that 8K videos also take up so much space, there is a strong possibility that we might actually see a 2TB iPhone this year. Wow, even my laptop doesn't have 2TB. Now, as for the rest of the cameras on the phone, we don't know much if the ultra wide angle camera will be improved or if the telephoto will zoom further away. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is. The primary is going to be definitely improved, is what the rumor mills are suggesting. All right, so I'm bringing the iPhone 14 and the 14 Max back into the equation right now because I have one thing left to address, and that is that there are certain rumors suggesting that the entire stack of iPhones, the entire lineup this year might come with 6GB of RAM, which is definitely an upgrade on the base iPhone 14 for sure. And of course, the iPhone 14 Max is new. All right, so that was the first look at these dummy models of the iPhone 14 series. It gives us a perspective on what you can expect this year. Also, it's very interesting to note that such things are already available out in the open for everybody to sort of take a look at even before they buy the next iPhone. Earlier in the days of the yore, it would be a thing where if iPhones could never leak. Not anymore, unfortunately. There's not much of control over that. So yeah, so you have a look at the iPhone 14 series. I don't think it's going to be drastically different from what we've seen in these designs already. So don't expect any surprises when the September-October launch happens. So those were our thoughts on the new iPhone 14 series, and of course a little look at the rumors as well. Do let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about it. Until the next video, this is Ershad signing off. Keep tracking and stay safe.